resilience. The climate clock is reminding. The alarm is already ticking. Many people can hear, but not all the politicians. And the politicians are those who can bring decisions and make final changes. That's why we have to shout loudly, to push strongly, and to unite our strength. That is the only way to hold on tightly to 1.5 degrees. The world needs emerging diverse leadership styles sustaining the Paris Agreement to fight ignorance, irresponsibility, and corruption. All these are reasons why we mustn't and count only on politicians, but strengthen the networks of so-called weak people individually. Those who are vulnerable, marginalized in their societies, who are suffering and will suffer the most from the climate changes. We are raising our joint voices. Fair, just, feminist, diverse, inclusive, gendered, intersectional climate solutions. Empowering women. This COP needs to overcome the defects of the previous year or years. There is
to be here and represent my Sami people from Scandinavia and especially from Sweden, as I am a Swedish citizen. May I start? Is it okay? Thank you. I would like to start by saying that around the world, there are estimated 370 million people who are belonging to the indigenous people in the world, and we are spread over 90 countries. We, the Sami of Sweden, is a very small minority in this group. We are estimated approximately 25,000. We don't exactly know because we are not registered when we are born as Sami. We are registered as Swedish persons. And then when we are allowed to vote, we can register as a Sami person. So that is why we think and not really know how many we are, but we are not so many. Still, we are Sami persons, and we have the right as indigenous people from the UN. But we struggle very hard to work with the climate change problems that we have for our reindeer herding, but also for our daily life. Reindeer herding is one of the backbones for the Sami people. But we are also doctors, nurses, lawyers, and everything else, teachers. So what do we want here in Sweden? What would we like to achieve? Well, we want to have our rights, nothing more and nothing less. And we are satisfied if we get it, but we need the help of others. We see that the government has to help us to ratify the ILO Convention 169 and the rights of the Sami land. We don't have it. Our neighbors in Norway have it, but we haven't come so far yet. And we demand a fair treatment of the Swedish Sami and a greater action by the Swedish government to assure the Sami their rights as indigenous people. We want change. Of course we want change. And we want improved legislation and guarantee the Sami their rights for traditional land and guarantee the right for constitutional issues concerning the Sami people. Fight hate crimes, and we see them, and they are getting stronger. The hate crimes against the Sami, especially the young Sami persons, and discrimination against the Sami. We saw that the UN has implemented and adopted a special declaration, and that Antonio Guterres really mentioned Sweden and the Sami people in this declaration. And I urge the Swedish government to listen to the United Nations and to Antonio Guterres. And we can contribute, so what shall we do? With the Sami women of Sweden, we can be one of the leaders in change. We can be a strong partner in the development of the future green economy in our country. And we see the industry expand. And of course it expands in the Sami area. It's where the richness is, the iron ore, the forest, the water. And that's where the industry is. And there is where we live and where we have our reindeer herder. So, we want to be a strong partner. And when we look at the development, what do we see? We see a development in men's shoes. And what does that mean? Well, men is in the leading position in the high level of the companies. When you see it in the regional development unit, you see men. We need women in the high position, and we need Sami women who knows the problems and the possibilities in the region. Well, we are well educated. We can be the strong force for change and for a good economy, for climate change. As we see today, we have problems with the weather. Changing up in the far north where we live, at the Arctic Circle. They're heard when they go over the lakes and so on. So
it is unfortunate even in the 21st century that we don't have equal representations even in workplaces for the women, and we hope that we'll be able to have that as we go on. The unpaid, of course, the unpaid burden, care of the kids that we do, the housework, the prevalence of the gender-based violence, and about and empower each other. Some of the studies have actually shown this is possible. A research published in the journal Sustainable Development that shows that 1 point increase in a country's woman, we have that sense of woman in us that back at home we say, if, like, for example, you feed a woman or give. The other study that was made was also on the journal of the corporate finance finding that firms with more women on board improving predictive models by including
globally. Wangari Maathai, a Nobel Prize winner, develop a curriculum that will teach students about the gender-specific effect of climate change, adaptive technique, and how to get active in climate action. This encourages participation in climate action among young people, specific youth programs. As we as youths, it's our duty to make decisions. It's our duty for our voice to be heard in the
Ms. Bianca Madison Vuleta from Croatia, Denmark.
Development of the National Declaration of Malagasy Youth on the climate change, and also the nourishment of the national gender policy of Madagascar, but above all, the prospect of the project of implementation on policy, a policy or a plan to strengthen the resilience of the indigenous people and local Malagasy community in the face of climate change. Thank you.
Thank you, Katja. The floor is for Monia Siroke also from Madagascar, from South Madagascar, indigenous person personally. But I don't see here. You are here, okay. Please sit at my...
People in the Madagascar. About this climate change, the just only solution we have to significantly reduce the greenhouse gas emissions. That way, we could prevent a substantial increase in the temperature. This is crucial for coastal populations such as our case in the Tuliara. We were there, the majority of special the veg people. The veg people depend only the sea, coral reef, and associate the resource. If the sea temperature rise by more than 1.5 degree, we will face coral bleaching phenomena, and that could cause destruction, collapse of resource, reduce in animal protein resource, low income for fishermen, biodiversity decline. Protective role of reef for coast, increase vulnerability of coastal population, destruction of their home, raising sea levels. However, it doesn't stop there. Consequences are really bad. Climate change causes financial shortages for local community and alter their income generating activities such as cutting down trees to make a charcoal and build a house. Deforestation in southern Madagascar is very urgent, you see, and there is why as we speak, there are still communities living in the forest that do not plant or hunt for food. Their livelihood entirely depend on the forest. You can do church deadly Mike population.
Is it unpleasant when somebody don't know or are not calling you by your name? Macedonian, I know that it's very, very bad. Okay, but the intention was not bad. So please now, and we can do this for both sessions, session A and session B. I didn't separate these questions because we have these problems with going online with Miriam, with Bianca, so we'll make it together. So we have some time for questions. Please, somebody, please. Yes, you will get a mic. Just.
So nice to hear you. So nice to hear your voices from indigenous people. Let's talk about the elephants in the room, and that is my question. We have a crazy economic system who has driven the world to madness and to we are all in a catastrophe. Do you agree?
Of course.
Good.
Of course.
1912, excuse me, I'm an old woman, 2012 in Rio de Janeiro, Gro Harlem Brundtland say, you should learn from the indigenous people. Don't take more from Mother Earth than you give back. Today, the system continues. We take more and more and more. and we are greedy. We ask for more and more. No quality, quantity. So, my friends, where are your suggestions? Which are your tools to change this madness? And which are the women's special technique to change? Because we have seen that over 70% of the countries in the world today is driven by men. They are in governance, 70%, and nearly 100% in the business center. Women could be in business. We can have other kind of business with quality and care of Mother Earth. Please tell us, which are your tools?
Thank you. That was a very inspiring question.
But I want to see us leading the big industry. And we are technicians, we are doctors, we are nurses, we are economics, we are everything that is needed for change. But we need to help each other, because Madeleine Albright, she said, there is a special place in hell for women who doesn't help each other. So we need to be sisters and help and support somebody to come up and give her credit for everything she does, good or bad. It's a learning step. It's a stairway up. And you know, somebody take the elevators, but it's seldom the women. And climbing. Because you men are 70% of everything that to do. And we, the 30% that is left, we are struggling to come up and help you. Because we don't see from a motherhood that our children is going to get better, and talking to in big conferences like this with stakeholders that is interesting of change, sustainable change. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to also answer the same. Thank you so much. Just like I said in my previous presentation, there have been various studies that wherever women actually are, there is change. And I don't see why in this space, why women should not be empowered. Like she said, we are 30%. So I'm calling on everyone, we are mothers, your fathers, can you empower your girl child? Support your sister, support your neighbor, so that we ensure that women are in these spaces. Because if we don't have this, then we are not going to have any change. And like I said, the study shows so clearly that anywhere there's a woman, the change is there. We need to support each other. These are our children, these are our daughters, and I'll keep saying support. We are all coming from different countries, support different leaders who are women. Empower them to be in those positions, empower them to be in the leadership. When you are employing someone, when you take your girl child to school so that we can have this change, as you always, it's a big problem for the girl, and unless we need to have a better world, a better economy of the world, then we have to empower all the children, and I say the women, so that we can have a better generation coming forth.
Thank you so much for your question. As I say, I'm the first international representative of my indigenous people. It's not why because my community do anything, it's just because I'm the privilege to be here to speak about my indigenous people. And what we do with the project of the Association Les Femmes de la Diaspora Tchadienne, we can do the highlight of the voice of my indigenous people of the Chad, but always people of the Sahel. We need to be here in the discussion, because sometimes I see some side event, we speak about Africa or Sahel, and we have no one of the Sahel. It doesn't make sense. We have to be here when you speak about us, and we have to take the voice of you. With us, it's not possible to blind the future. it's for me, the important is to include youth people, include indigenous people, because indigenous people, you have colleges to protect the earth. And without us, it's not possible. And we have to work together. We cannot just have the political leader to work and make the decision without us. You have to listen to your recommendation. And like us, we have to be in this panel with a powerful woman, and we need to work together. And we have to continue. I know it's so hard because first, it's like 30 years you combat for climate change, to speak about more women. You have to work together, and I hope for the future generation, very big change. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam. Tamara?
Women are agents of change. We as youths are also part of change. And as we see in the negotiation boardrooms, most of the people who really negotiate, we mostly find are the men who take charge in those boardrooms, who think about how their country will benefit money-wise. They don't think of how the next future, how will we as youth survive? How will the world be in the next 20 years? Will there be air to breathe even? We will be living in dusty cities. What will happen? They don't want to tell us what will happen because they know what will happen. If they continue like this, the world will end. And we have no planet B. This is the only planet we have, and they keep on forgetting that. Has to continue and continue. There's a time I'll be in my 70s and my kid will want to live in a place where they can see the environment, where like in African country, we have everything. And there's this time during the drought season where like the animals were dying and everything. What did the leaders do? Nothing, sat down and just watched. But we, as the youths, had to do something. What are they doing? Coming to these boardrooms, taking the money, and they won't even help out. Thank you.
Thank you, Tamara. And the
Okay,
friend from
thank you for
Madagascar.
your question. Thank you. Sorry for my English. As for me, that's why I am here, to bring the voice of indigenous people from Madagascar. We should reduce the greenhouse emissions gas. That's why I say that they are not participate about this greenhouse gas emission. That's why I want to every countries to must reduce this gas. So we want for the people, for the countries on development to help. It's not money, no, just to reduce the gas. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me answer also as one of the speakers. You raise some very difficult questions and issues. First, about the system. How can we beat this system? Because the problem is mainly in the system. The system is capitalistic. It is consumerism, consumerism, consumerism. Just wasting natural resources, destroying nature, not thinking of the next day, just thinking of money, 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 and it has no end. The greed that you mentioned is the driving force in our world nowadays. And it is very difficult to ask how to change this. Strong positions in politics especially, they behave like men, like not all the men, I'm sorry, like irresponsible men who are greedy, who wants more and more, who want social status of richness. So if we are women, we have to policy. Hey, executive director, please. Yes. he will help you. Yes? Sir?
Thank you very much. My name is Kevin Fay. I'm the executive director of an organization. Key pillars. First is data gathering. We'll be working through the Montreal Protocol system to get a baseline understanding of what is the cold chain in a country done to help reduce food loss and think of cold projects. There are a lot of cold projects going on in terms of technology, but the chain is actually necessary in order to make sure that you reduce food loss and waste. And I'll talk about some of the foundations as well as business consultation. But what's the challenge that we're trying to deal with? On average, the food system wastes 30 to 40% of what they grow or what they make, whether it's fish, food, crops. And 4.4 billion tons of carbon dioxide equivalent are emitted annually from that food loss and waste, according to the UN Food and Agriculture Organization. Sustainable cold chain can help reduce those emissions by 40 to 50% of that amount. Energy and refrigeration technology choices are key. We need to improve access to not just any energy. Grid energy would be great, but you know, grid energy is a challenge in many developing nations. But access to renewable energy is also important. The program needs to reach out to that first mile of the agriculture system and engage the small and medium enterprises to help do that. And business models are necessary from organizations throughout the globe to help participate in that. And we think that ultimately this will help reduce greenhouse gas emissions. It will help expand the food supply. It will help reduce water consumption because as part of that food loss and waste, you lose a huge amount of clean water when you waste that food. And so we think this is a win-win-win situation, and we're proud to be organizing this along with our Montreal Protocol entities, as well as foundations, industry groups, and NGO groups around the world. And we think it's something that will help for diversity, it will help for economic security, and it will help for the environment. And so the Alliance is pleased to be active in pursuing that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fay, for your very interesting speech. And now I'm calling Dr. Shakbar from Japan and Mongolia, from technology, especially cold technology organization, to speak. But is not here. Then I'm for the Partner Technology Education Research and Rehabilitation for Environment Policy Center, TERE Policy Center from India. I ask Dr. Vinita Apte from TERA founder Solar Energy for Students.
Thank you very much. I'm Dr. Vinita Apte, founder and director of TER Policy Center. TER means Earth in French, and we stand for Technology, Education, Research, and Rehabilitation for the Environment. Mr. Fay was, Kevin Fay was talking about Montreal Protocol, and incidentally, I was working in Montreal Protocol, United Nations Environment Program, Ozone Action Paris as a consultant. So world is round. Means it was a long journey that I have transferred from technology to the tree plantation and nature-based initiatives. When the Paris Agreement came into the force, that saying that 1.5 degrees Celsius we have to decrease with this carbon emission and all. So I always think that we have to go for the nature-based solutions, as well as we have to implement what we have to do. It is not about the policy, it is not about the papers, but it is with the behavior. As my earlier panel was a very strong woman, I was very happy to listen to them about the indigenous women and all, and for that I have started one portal. It's a global woman network for nature. And we are gathering the information of such kind of very strong women in that portal. It was just for the introduction. It has started, and we have gathered so many women, and I need many women who will be in action, because action is the only thing where we can fight the climate change. If we don't have action, there is nothing. There is only talks, there are only discussions, and that's it. Right now also we are sitting here, and I'm shivering since morning. If you must be thinking about this air condition, you may be know in that, because these people, the technical people, are always working for environment-friendly air conditioners and all. But the air conditioners needs to set at 26 degrees and not at 18. But everyone is thinking about, if you are air conditioned, you put your suits and boots and everything, but it will not help for the environment. It will help only for looking handsome, but not for your health. So please.
Everyone has their magic number.
Yes. So please, it is my request to every person who is living in this world, that if we want to save the world, you have to change your behavioral pattern. You have to go for the nature-based solution. My learned friend who will be giving a presentation on nature-based solutions, they are working in Global Carbon Council. And I myself and my young team, we work for conservation of plants, conservation of water, air purification, and those kind of solutions which we implement at the grassroots level. Thank you so much.
This was very strong, really, and inspirative. Now I'm calling Dr. Rambus, he's not here. Mr. Wojciech Galiński, from Nature-Based Solutions. Please.
May I get this? Okay, may I get my... Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for the invitation. It's my pleasure to be here, and I would like to continue on this tone of action. So I would like to tell you what we are doing in order to walk the talk. No.
It will come. It will come.
Yeah, I know. Okay. So I will be talking about action. I will be continuing to talk about action. I will be talking about nature-based solutions as they are implemented at Global Change Carbon Council. So, yeah, what are we? What is GCC, Global Carbon Council? We are the first international carbon market and sustainable development which is located in Global South. We register projects, features are listed here. This presentation will be available also after this side event, so I will not read it, you see it. So I will be talking about action. So our action began in 2016 when we launched GCC idea of action. Then we continued with a lot of administrative formal work until 2020 when we got first project submitted. In 2021 we got first project registered and first issuance of our credits. In 2022 we had already about submitted, and now we got conditional approval for the first phase of deal with submissions, methodologies, environmental integrity, avoidance of double counting, transparency, enhanced access to finance, scaling up climate action, details you see in the screen. We are now opening for AFOLU, so these doors are open to our future AFOLU projects. What kind of projects will be eligible under GCC? Afforestation, reforestation, forest restoration, forest management, urban forestry, agroforestry, revegetation, agricultural land management, wetland, mangrove restoration. Do you need anything more? I think it should cover all your needs, more or less. I hope more. Okay. All these projects deal with carbon accumulation, as you see, and emission reduction is only secondary type of carbon impact. If we talk about carbon accumulation, this is our green carbon. We know that this carbon originates from atmosphere. We are afraid that the same carbon may go back to atmosphere. This carbon is at risk. Our goal is to protect it, and we protect it within actions which we perform under GCC. So GCC guarantees permanence of our credits even when accumulated carbon is at risk. Why risk is important? This is just an example from California. You see that there is a lot of fires, and although small fires, the number of small fires decreases, large number of large fires increases. So this is impact of climate change. So the largest wildfire burned in California about 41,000 hectares. You know, this is something. So permanence of credits issued to nature-based solution is pillar for net zero world. We cannot issue credits against this type of carbon which may be released back to atmosphere. So we have developed our non-permanence risk tool. This non-permanence risk tool takes into account various types of risk. This is risk which originates from humans. This risk can be mitigated by means of some kind of fines, you know, penalties, whatever. This works quite well with respect to humans. Unfortunately, this is one among most successful solutions. We have also risks related to forest fire. They may be mitigated with use of fire engines, some kind of preparation, fire management plans, and so on. There are also risks related to pathogens. They could be fought by means of biological action, but also by means of spraying. And we have our tool, non-permanence tool, which allows us to calculate buffer contribution, which informs us how many credits should go to the buffer, and they are something like protection for these credits which go to the market to protect their permanence. Yeah, don't worry. All mathematics which is behind this scene is done electronically. You will be happy ones who will be just using our tool and will see nice results on your screen. So your role will be limited to choosing yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, and all difficult mathematics is done behind the scene. It's a little bit complicated mathematics, but as long as you do not see it, it does not touch you. Okay, so what comes next? What GCC wants to do in next steps? We would like to support implementation of Article 6.2 in context of voluntary carbon market. We plan to be quite active in participate in future ITMOS market. We would like to expand into carbon capture and storage, green hydrogen, and AFOLU realms. And you know, I have heard here a lot of nice ideas of potential future projects. We invite you. Please come with your ideas maybe this is the way in which you will get some kind of support, some kind of money for your effort for carbon which you will sequester. With this accent, I invite your views. Thank you very much.
This was very interesting. Because we finished the formal tour of... Do you hear me? Is it okay? Okay. Thank you for your very interesting speech. We finished with the agenda concerning the speakers, but now is the time for the questions and answers. So somebody to ask or to add from the scene or from the public? May I break the... Islam, please. Take a mic.
Hello, everyone. Wonderful presentations, very inspiring and insightful. And I would like to take from here and there and see how we can go together with the indigenous people. I understood you mentioned a beautiful quadrinomial of organization entities that need to work together to make sure that the rights of the indigenous people are in line with the science, are in line with the change, economically speaking, and finally, they include the government. This is a beautiful model, it's the same I'm using as well, and I was wondering, what is the barrier from this communication? Like I saw the previous presentation have been mentioning data collection. How relevant is to you data sharing in order to achieve the change? And once you have this data, both technological, historical data coming from the native people, how can that be translated in a universal way that can be useful globally?
It's an excellent question, and actually our expectation is that the data gathering that takes place would be open to the public in terms of the status of cold chain as well as the relationship to the ag system in a particular country. And what we're finding is currently there's a lot of information out there. It's all in silos. And so there's no integration of any of this information. And in order for us to have a better system that can reduce food loss and waste, you have to start with the data and the education and then figure out, okay, so what are your options there that help do increase productivity and reduce the waste? So that's the goal. And actually, I will tell you, one of the challenges we're finding is that the ag community, they're very used to being in silos and they like that. And there's multiple ministries in government that deal with ag issues, as opposed to on Montreal Protocol issues. There's a lot of learning going on our part in working with the institutions of how we get them all in the position to work together.
Data are crucial because outcome is numerical. So it is not it is quantitative. We need to know how much carbon was, how much emission was reduced in order to issue our credits. So, for example, from my point of view, it would be nice to find new ways of connection, data which might be possessed by indigenous people with action which is translatable into, for example, carbon sequestration. Because this type of knowledge may be there somewhere, you know, deep in Amazonia or somewhere in Madagascar or in Africa, and it has not yet emerged, it has not yet surfaced in form of models, in form of, you know, formal science, which is based on publications, you know, peer-reviewed journals and so on and so on. It would be nice if this type of knowledge, which may be very much creative, if this knowledge would come to the surface and if these indigenous people could share their knowledge. If we do this, we see this. If we do that, we see someone else. And you, scientist, whatever, try to generalize it. Try to make, you know, broader truth out of field truth, you know, this truth which we may touch with our hands. So this type of transmission belt from this knowledge which that people just see it. I see this, I see my result. So if these ideas would come to scientists, and scientists would be able to translate it into models and give it to the general public, perhaps this is the way. Thank you for your question.
Thank you. You want? Yes, please. Somebody from public? Another question? Or not? Then I want to thank to everybody, to all the participants, panelists, and you in the room. Miriam. Oh, great, Miriam. Great. Finally, finally, Miriam is on board. Yes, Miriam.
Yes. Thank you very much. Can you hear me nicely now?
Yes. Great.
Can you hear me?
Shoot.
Yes, thank you very much. So I wanted to reply to the previous speaker. The Green Economics Institute founded the longest running green academic journal, which is entirely peer-reviewed, 17th year, and we publish it multi and interdisciplinary top scientific work at the highest universities. Can you hear me all right? And so many indigenous people and all sorts of other science is featured in them. So it's very important to understand that. Similarly, the subject of this science, which we're very grateful that you did, is very much emerging leadership and emerging voices, because it's true that we've 2,000 years of patriarchy and we've got into terrible mess. And now we need to look at other voices who've been telling us all the time what their experience is on the ground, and we need to listen. What we need to do is listen and not tell them what to do. And we've gathered a lot of data. We have tons of scientific data, satellite imagery, all sorts. There's entire working groups at the UN, at the UNFCCC, which have got data, and we're working on that. But now we need to listen, look at the effects, and make sure that we save the planet and we look after each other. But we will only do that, as we've said in the title of this, if we have global, diverse, new types of leadership, and we listen to other people, and it's not just the same old group telling us what to do and telling us we haven't done science. We are doing science, and actually it's time to listen. It's time to change. And actually the techno fixes probably won't get us there. It's going to be sharing the earth, sharing the planet, sharing the air, sharing what's remaining of the carbon budget. Those are the things that are going to work. And if a space person looked down on the earth today and they said, well, what are they doing about this terrible climate emergency? They would say, well, they're going to war and killing each other. That's not really the right thing to do. So what we need to do is to listen to the quiet voices in the room, listen to the indigenous people, listen to the women, listen to people who are marginalized, because very often on the ground, they're seeing the effects, they're feeling the effects, and actually that's going to save us, I think. And that's what this event was really about. If we want to get back to 1.5 degrees, which the science says we have to do, we need to really sit and listen to the marginalized people and look at the effects of what we've done and stop doing it. And I think the Institute has calculated if we halve the carbon that we're using, every single person on the planet goes to 2 tons of carbon per year initially, then we can manage somehow to get to 1.5 degrees. But if we have enormous gas guzzling, in some countries up to 20 tons of carbon a year, then we're not going to get there. So I think it's really about contraction and converging of what we use, both in terms of the economy and in terms of our carbon usage, very fast. That seems to me the only technical solution that we've come up with that works. And I think everyone acknowledges that it does work. And we need to do it very fast in the next 5 to 7 years to save the climate. So that's really what I'd like to leave you with, except what I would say is, if you want to know more about the planet's vital signs, go on NASA's website. NASA has all the data you could ever want, and it's quite frightening. We're up to, I think, 415 parts per million, roughly, and it was 365 parts when we started doing this. So have a look at NASA's vital signs website and inform yourselves exactly where we are scientifically, and then go and change your lifestyle to make things better. Thank you very much.
This was a great conclusion, and with this, I'm closing this site event. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.